Welcome back, friends. Remember me, Ms. Hollier? Welcome to St. Elizabeth Vacation Bible School. Maybe I should say St. Elizabeth Virtual Vacation Bible School. I'm glad you're joining us. Today we're going to read a story. And remember, we're knights, don't forget. But today we're going to read a story about David and Goliath. You may have heard this one before. It comes from the book of Samuel. But today we're going to armor up with justice. Okay, so get comfortable. I am. This story, it started with, we're going to start talking about Saul. Saul had been a king, but he kept disobeying God. So God asked Samuel to go find a new king. God said to Samuel, go to Bethlehem, and there's a man named Jesse, and he has 8 sons. One of them will be the next king. When Samuel first met the sons, he automatically thought that the oldest son, named Eliab, would be the king that God had chosen. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at the way he looks or how big he is. Eliab is not the one I have chosen. The way he looks doesn't matter to me. I look at the heart. Jesse brought more of his sons to meet Samuel, but none of them God had chosen either. Samuel asked Jesse, have I met all your sons? Jesse replied, I have one son left. His name is David, but he's my youngest son, and he's looking after the sheep. I'll bring him here so he can meet you. As soon as Samuel saw him, the Lord spoke to him and said, he's the one. So Samuel anointed him with oil, which was a special way of promising him that he would be the next king. And from that day on, the power of the Lord was with David. David continued to take care of his father's sheep in the fields. When he didn't have much to do in the field, he played instruments. He wrote songs and poems that you could find those poems or those psalms in the book of Psalms in your Bible. Meanwhile, Saul was still king, and he ruled over the people that they were called the Israelites. David and his family, they were Israelites too. The Israelites weren't getting along with the people named the Philistines. The problem with the Philistines was that they had many giants living in their land. One of the strongest, biggest giants, his name was Goliath. Goliath, big and strong. He was over 9 feet tall, which is taller than any person has ever been recorded to be, even in the book of world records. He would have had to bend down to enter through any door. Goliath was covered with armor to protect him, and he carried a really big spear. Every morning and every evening for 40 days, he shouted to the Israelites in his big, deep voice, hey, you guys, I dare you to find one man to fight me. If he can beat me, we will become your servants. But if I win, you will all become our servants. When Saul and all his men heard this, they were scared. They were very afraid. 3 of these men were David's 3 oldest brothers. They were the only ones in David's family that could go fight because they were old enough. Now David's father Jesse heard about the giant, and he was worried for his sons. He called David out of the fields and asked him to take some food to his brothers and report back how were they doing. So David set off to visit his brothers. He approached them, and he heard Goliath shouting his challenges like he did every morning. Isn't someone going to go stand up to this man? Asked David. he's like, he needs some help. Y'all need to stand up to him. He said, if not, then I will go fight this Philistine. One of the men overheard this and ran to Saul and told him what David had said. Saul approached David and said, you can't fight Goliath. You're only a boy. You're too small. And you haven't been fighting for very many years, if at all. But David said to Saul, I have had to fight lions and bears to protect my father's sheep. God help me keep them safe, and he will help me keep you safe, and he will keep me safe. It was too bad that Saul, the king, wasn't trusting enough in God to help him. He didn't know what to do to beat Goliath. This young boy named David came, and he knew in one day exactly what to do. And he trusted that God would help him. That's what God's love does to David's heart. He wanted him to be king. So Saul dressed in heavy armor to protect him from Goliath, but David took it off. He didn't want that armor. It was too heavy, and he could hardly walk. And he knew that God would keep him from harm. Instead, David went into a stream nearby, and he found 5 smooth stones, like rocks. He put them in his pouch that was either carried around his arm, or sometimes they carried him around their waist. And with his sling, he went to Goliath. As David approached Goliath, Goliath looked at David and thought, is this a joke? Goliath thought he could easily beat David, and it was funny that Saul would send a small boy to fight him. But David said to him, without any fear in his voice, you fight with a sword, and I come with God on my side. And today, everyone will know that there is one true God in this land. Goliath didn't care what David said, and he moved closer to attack him. David ran quickly to meet him, reaching in his pouch and pulling out a stone. He put it in his slingshot, and he shot at Goliath. The stone had hit him right between his eyes, and suddenly Goliath started to lose his balance. He fell right on his face. David had done it. He beat that giant Philistine. When the rest of the Philistines saw this, they ran away, and David became a hero to all the people in Israel. With a rock, with a stone, but more importantly, with God at his side. That's really what did it. It wasn't the rock. It wasn't the stone. It wasn't fear. It was that he had God on his side. And we armor up with justice, don't we? We do. Every day, we may go into all different kind of battles. But we have to remember to stop and say, who's on our side? God is. You know, sometimes other people can make us feel bad. They can make us feel sad. They can make us feel alone. They can be what you might call a bully, kind of like what Goliath was. They use their strength, what they call strength, to try to intimidate us or make us feel bad. Well, Goliath was bullying the Israelites by insulting them and their God. Goliath was humongous. He was huge. But one person who believed in God's justice went out and faced him. Who was it? It was David. Many people read the story of David and Goliath and they think, see there? David stood up to Goliath. He bumped him right in the head with a stone, and he saved the day. So we should always stand up to bullies. But often when someone smaller stands up to other people, they might get pushed down. So when we have someone who's making us feel bad, or they're challenging what we believe in, we have to be the ones who stand up. We have to stand up and be like David. And we have to remember who's on our side. God is. You know, we can be brilliant knights. David was never alone. God was there, showing him the way. And he's going to show us the way too. God doesn't stand against Goliath so much as God stood with David. I'm going to repeat that. It's not that he was against Goliath. It's that he was with David. Because David asked God to be with him. David didn't win because he was smaller, because he had a stronger weapon. He won because God was on his side. It's that simple. That's all we have to do. We have to stand against what might be wrong in our world. And we have to stand for what we know is right. We have to stand for what matters, for justice. And we have to stand together. Will you stand for truth and justice? I hear a yes coming through there. Can you shout out for me today? Armor out with justice? Armor out with justice? There you go. Huzzah! You know what huzzah can mean? Very good. You guys did good. Thank you.